Good morning, everyone. So, attention is what it's all about here today. Attention in a sense where Jesus is drawing us in. Now, a lot of times we'll hear about attention and he'll do things in the gospel like, he'll speak in hyperbole. Things like, if your eye causes you to sin, then pluck it out. It looks like everybody seems to have their eyes, so that's good. You realize that you can't just take Scripture literally, all right? But he's getting our attention. Today, he made a whip, and he overturned tables. That is attention, okay? So before we get into that, let's go ahead and just do a quick review from last week. Remember, we put it this way, whether you understand God and you kind of or completely, we still want to listen to the voice of God. So when he speaks to us, there will be times where we understand completely what he's asking us to do. I gave you the example of after my diaconate retreat, I knew clearly that God was calling me to, the way in which God was calling me to lay down my life was that as a priest. He had placed in my heart to give. That was the way I was supposed to lay down my life. Before that, I was in the Navy. I had put college aside, and it was time now to go to college. I left the Navy. But there was all this discernment, and everything was lining up, and he was speaking to me saying, I want you to put college aside for another year and volunteer. And it just didn't make sense to me. I didn't fully understand it, but I could hear his voice clearly. There were sign after sign after sign, and it wasn't against reason, but I didn't understand it, okay? We're going to hear the voice of God, and there are some times where it's going to be crystal clear. Other times, I understand him kind of. In that particular instance, he was going to bring me into Net. Net was going to bring me through this area. I was going to connect at Franciscan University. I would go to Franciscan, grow in my faith, and now discern my vocation. That was his whole perfect will in that particular instance. I didn't understand it, but I knew he was calling me to set something aside and step forward. What about you? Okay, there are times where you are going to hear the voice of God clearly, and you're going to understand what he's doing with you, your spouse, your children, your grandchildren, the people at work. It's going to be crystal clear, and we still have challenges to follow it or not. Okay, there's going to be other times where we hear his voice clearly and we don't understand fully. Either one. I understand him kind of, or I understand him completely. Say yes to him. So now today, it's all about this experience of gaining our attention. All right, I spent 6 years in the Navy. When we were doing our work or whatever, and either the department head or the division officer or the captain came in, the commanding officer, when somebody saw an officer come into your workspace, they would do this, and everybody would pop to. Attention on deck. Okay, that's what they would do. At ease. All right, attention on deck. At ease. So, attention on deck. At ease. And it didn't matter, whatever was going on, you stopped and boom. Now, so they went into server position, which is, again, not, look at me, I'm holy. It means I am ready. Ad sum in Latin. I am ready to receive. It's important that Jesus is gaining our attention here, an attention on deck type of experience. He's gaining our attention. He's throwing tables. He's making a whip and driving people out. What's going on there? Okay, yes, there were injustices and different types of things that he wanted to point out. Okay, there was nothing wrong with them selling the animals there. That was a good thing. Why? Because they had to come and offer sacrifice, and they couldn't carry the animals the whole way. It was very convenient for them to have an animal there so that they could purchase it and have the sacrifice. Okay? The problem is that to buy an animal there in the temple area, the hike was about 20 times higher than if you had bought an animal somewhere else. There was an injustice. So he was trying to gain their attention in that regard. That was just the superficial. The real thing was this, that he said, if you tear this temple down, I'll rebuild it in 3 days. And they said, 46 years. 46 years that you've been building this, and you're going to raise it up in 3 days? And then this is it. This is the whole reason why he was gaining attention. Draws them in and says, the temple is me. I'm the temple. He was speaking about his body. So it's interesting. So you have with the temple area, okay, you have a number of different areas there. You have where the Gentiles were, then the women at that time. And then you kind of enter the tabernacle. The tabernacle had the outer area, okay, the outer area. Then it had the holy area. And in the holy area, in the temple, you would find 3 things, 3 pieces of furniture. 1, the altar of sacrifice. 2, you'd find the menorah, or the sanctuary lamp. And 3, there was a table there that had 12 loaves on it, representing each tribe of Israel. It was known as the bread of the presence. And then within the holiest of holies was the Ark of the Covenant that had within it the 10 Commandments. So isn't it amazing how now this whole point of attention that he's been drawing is to say that I am the temple. He's saying that he is God. He's drawing our attention, and wouldn't it be wonderful if every single one of us, when we came through any one of these doors into his presence, that we would do this, attention on deck, in our mind and in our heart. Instead of talking to our neighbor at ease, or, that we come in and we realize we have just entered into the presence of the temple, God himself. I mean, it's pretty intense. A whip driving people out, just throwing the tables. I mean, he really wanted to get our attention about this. It's that important. I am the temple. That is to say, I'm the incarnation. I am God. And we have him right here. And so, this week, set in the context of Lent, set in the context of our extra prayer, our fasting, our almsgiving, our desire to growing closer to the Lord, this is an opportunity here to reinvigorate what we already know. Every single one of us in here knows that Christ is present in the Eucharist. But maybe we can renew in our mind and in our heart that disposition towards that truth, so that when we walk in the door, mind and heart, we do attention on deck. That type of devotion, that type of realization that he is here at ease.